Hi. Oh, that look. Ah, that was so good. Our Prime Minister's visit to the European Union was heralded as a raging success by the self proclaimed most trusted Canadian media. Meanwhile, journalists from elsewhere on the planet pointed out that aside from the sheer number of members who removed themselves from the assembly so as not to have to listen, others stood before him and chose to call out the hypocrisy, yikes, of Mr. Trudeau spouting the value of democracy and human rights abroad after just stomping on it at home. My name is Shauna, and I get super excited about finding the positive in just about everything. And to that end, my focus is convincing you to shift from being mad to being effective. Be mad if you want, but it really doesn't do very much. And for too long, those who believed that common sense would eventually prevail. That would be you. I know you did it. It's like, people are going to figure this out. You've sat back complaining in small groups about the stupidity, but you've really done nothing. You shook your head, swore under your breath, rolled your eyes, all to exactly zero avail. Oh, well, we don't talk about that stuff in public. We believe in live and let live. Well, there's no need to be rude. The public, they're never going to believe that. We will vote. That's what we're going to do. We will vote. That is when we speak. And so it goes. All kinds of perfectly polite and reasonable excuses for not pushing back on anything in the past few decades. Fully Canadian responses. Hey, no one wants to be seen to be unkind or rude or nasty. That's just not our thing. But friends, you can be silently mad, or you can start doing something. Remaining quiet is not going to change anything. Hasn't worked up till now. You and I both know there are far too many people in your social circles who appear to be buying everything being shoveled by our self-proclaimed most trusted media. You can politely smile and change the topic, or you can kindly and yet politely call crap. You all know the definition of insanity. Okay, I want to set this up so that you can look at one of the EU speeches which lit up the world this week. You have probably seen it, maybe you haven't, so we'll go through it quickly here. Here it is.
I give the floor to Ms. Christine Anderson for her point. Thank you. Based on Article 195, out that it would have been more appropriate for Mr. Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to address this House according to Article 144, an article which was specifically designed to debate violations of human rights, democracy, and the rule of law, which is clearly the case with Mr. Trudeau. Then again, a prime minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this house at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
Okay. Imagine, just imagine if any of our so-called political leaders had said those words. To be perfectly fair, many of them did. But as with this woman, our trusted media chooses to diminish the speaker always. Like, so awful. They always do it. They do that rather than report without defense. It's not their job to defend. It's their job to report. So simply report without defense that not everyone is a fan of our Prime Minister. As I mentioned earlier, anyone searching for video when the Prime Minister did speak at the EU Assembly this past week saw that there's some pretty bad shots out there. There were far more seats empty than filled. At first glance, it looked as though most took the opportunity to do other things rather than sit there and listen to him. And as it turns out, it wasn't just that. A great many chose to walk out in protest. Imagine that, a protest he could not squash. He had to do what all leaders are expected to do. Sit there and take the criticism. Then go on about its day. That is what's supposed to happen. Sending in mounted police through a crowd is not going about one's day. Freezing bank accounts is not going about one's day. Pretending to implement an emergency act so he could just pull it back without what was actually passed, so it ends up in that kind of legal limbo, is not going about one's day. The moral of this story, just because he speaks at a global community gathering or elsewhere, and just because our media omits to show anything which might make him look less than stellar, it does not mean the world is in fact listening, and it certainly doesn't mean you have to either. Canada is back is yet another lie. Sad. We are irrelevant, but more than that, we are now scorned. He is we. Without moral authority, we really have very little value to the rest of the world. I mean, we really don't even really defend ourselves. We actually depend on everybody else for that. Now, clearly within that particular part of the globe, among a great many of its members, not all, there was a fair number in support of him. We are no longer what we say we are. And one can argue that all you want. Well, we're not him. Yeah, but we are. So in the big scheme of things, if we have nations doubting the strength of our democracy, we simply have little value to the world. It's a harsh truth. We can finger wag all we want. Our Prime Minister is very good at that. But without respect, which is now very much lost, finger wagging is like he and thus we are saying, oh, look at me getting in a good workout while I wiggle my toes. I mean, it means nothing. So what to do? Again, you can be mad. You can. You can share all the stories from those aforementioned self-proclaimed most trusted news sources while complaining about their slanted coverage. And you can do that. or you can stop doing that. I'm going to show you a couple here of alternate headlines that you may not have seen this week. And I'm going to talk about why it's important to start sharing some of these rather than the other ones. So this one is from True North News. I happen to really like Candace Malcolm. Look at her happy face. She does a show at around supper time. So it's something that you can watch while you're making supper, or, catch it the next day or whenever. But she's somebody that when you're wanting to share an alternate point of view that isn't kind of blasting in your face as some of these other independent sources do, they get, shocking headlines. They say shocking things. This is a good one. And you will find a link to her show in the description box below. So that's one. The other one is the counter signal. Now, Kian used to be with Rebel News, and you can decide whatever you want from that. I'm not going to get into any of that. But he has a website now where he actually does a bit of aggregating of news stories. And you'll notice the headlines are incredibly different than the ones that you would normally see from Canadian media. So, I give you those to say there is an option, and you can choose to take it. So, part of the reason why the narrative works is because that's all we ever see. We need to change the narrative, and you need to help. You need to help by flooding your feeds with alternate headlines. Quit waiting for someone else to get it, to change the narrative, to challenge the lies. It's not going to happen. It has to be you. You can and you must, or you can simply be mad. And that is what you can do. That is what you must do. Oh, but what about, Facebook won't like it. Whatever. Until they actually do something about it, keep doing it. Share by text, share by email, share on the multitude of other platforms out there which believe in the value of multiple points of view. The point is, stop supporting the people and companies who hate you and everything that you believe in. Stop complaining about our biased media. Stop improving their traffic, which helps them increase their revenue, by clicking and commenting and sharing on their stuff. Quit arguing with them. All it does is give them more money. Then start promoting the heck out of independent media sources, those not propped up by the Prime Minister's Media Fund. Help them. Support them as they fight for what you believe in. The Twitter brigade is a powerful force. We all see that cabal of blue checkmarks has done a bang-up job of modeling public policy in recent years. They promote a narrative, and they're good at it. Well, you can be good at it too. So what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to quietly accept the lies? The politeness and all? Or kindly yet firmly start fighting back? You don't need to argue with everybody, but you can share alternate headlines. So which will it be? You will find links to things I showed here or talked about in the description box below. As always, no matter where you see this, please like, comment, share the crap out of this, please. Follow, subscribe. If you like what I'm doing, you got to help me get there. I have to have followers. I have to have traffic on my stuff. There's a reason I post to Rumble first and then share from there. Those opposed to multiple viewpoints cannot touch me there. They can't. So get yourself some crazy username if you want to remain anonymous. and sign up on Rumble. You will find the link below this video in the description. If you are worried about clicking on things via your regular sources, head on over to Locals, where I and others post all kinds of stories for you to read. Much of it you're not necessarily going to see for very long where you're currently reading stuff, if at all. It's probably fact-checked, which is if something's fact-checked, then obviously there's something to it. They don't fact-check anything that doesn't matter. Anyway, when you get over to Locals, ignore the subscribe for $2 option. I mean, I would appreciate it, but you don't have to do that. You can be part of my community for free. And of course, if you want to help me out monetarily, I and so many other creators not propped up by government, we will thank you. So become a member on Rumble or Locals. Subscribe to my channels and start following me in a whack of other voices without worrying about whether anyone's going to track you. You can change the world, but you must start now. I will do my part, which is working towards creating content to help you understand what you can do beyond being mad and frustrated. I'm also going to encourage the crap out of you every single time. But I need you to help me by sharing the crap out of these videos. Be mad or not. I choose not. I hope you do too. Let's get to it. Have a wonderful day, everyone.